This is The Primal Wound. It's a book written by an adoptive mother about maternal separation and how that affects children, even newborns. Psychologists often talk about the first 3 years of life as being the most important years in emotional development. Our current understanding of prenatal psychology has made many realize that the environment in utero is an important part of a baby's well-being. Yet, when it comes to adoption, there seems to be a blackout in awareness. There seems to be a reluctance to recognize that at the moment of birth, in the next few days, weeks, or months in the life of a child, when he is separated from his mother and handed over to strangers, he could be profoundly affected by this experience. What does it mean that we have for so long wanted to ignore this? That the child does not consciously remember it will not diminish the impact of it. How many of us remember very much about the first 3 years of our lives? Does our lack of memory mean that those 3 years have had no impact on us? Are we to believe that if a person can successfully keep those experiences from consciousness, they will not affect his or her future relationships? In the case of abuse, we have now at least begun to recognize that there is indeed a profound lifelong effect on the person, an effect which often requires years of therapy to overcome. Yet, what if the most abusive thing which can happen to a child is that he is taken from his mother? She then goes on to talk about how a small child will still choose their abusive mother over a non-abusive caregiver. Not to endorse staying within an abusive family, but just to understand that in the mind of a child, all they want is their mother. We are biologically wired to want our mother because we bond in utero. She then goes on to say, what the general population considers to be a concept, a social solution for the care of children who cannot or will not be taken care of by their biological parents, is really a two-part, devastating, debilitating experience for the child. The first part of the experience is the abandonment itself. No matter how much the mother wanted to keep her baby, and no matter what the altruistic or intellectual reasons she had for relinquishing him or her, the child experiences the separation as abandonment. The narrative that we give about adoption being a choice made out of love, they loved you so much they came to this decision, what that teaches a small child who between the ages of 0 and 3 is forming all of their subconscious beliefs about the world and themselves. When you tell them that decision was made out of pure love, what that actually ends up doing for the child, as an adoptee, is it starts to associate the idea of love with abandonment, someone who's not around. I think what a lot of people need to realize is that adoptees talking about this is because that little baby is going to become an adult. The only people who can truly advocate for them and what their experiences are going to be like as an adult unpacking this is other adoptees. Adopted babies don't have anyone to advocate for them because there are personal interests involved with all the adults. So it really bums me out that there's so many people who are so resistant to the idea that adoption is trauma because they're an adoptive parent, because they're a prospective adoptive parent. They may be infertile and they see that as an altruistic solution. That's not a reason to come into the comment of adoptee videos like my friend Megan and try to argue about it. Sometimes I struggle reading her comments because it's triggering to the newborn baby in me who had no one around who knew this information. Because a big part of how trauma is experienced and how traumatized a kid ends up being is whether or not the adults in their life understand what they may be going through and can be there for them and validate their emotions. If you have a caregiver who understands that, it can mitigate so much of the trauma.